My name's Ella Eneme Otomo, and I sometimes forget to say my middle name, but it felt important for this because I'm mixed race, British and Nigerian, and the Eneme Otomo is from my Nigerian side, from my dad's family. I grew up in Birmingham, and I feel really lucky about that because I really remember being in primary school and secondary school as well, of there being a really almost quite even mixture of different people from different places with different ethnicities. And so I could kind of blend in, is like a funny phrase to use in this context, but I did feel like I had a place even though it was different from other people's because everybody had their place just in being different together. Yeah, when I was a child, I was really obsessed with Brazil or Hawaii as well, because I remember I had a really beautiful book when I was a child. I think it was called Children Just Like Me or something like that, and it had pictures of different children from different parts of the world. And so I go through and you get to learn about what it was like for a child growing up in India or Germany or wherever it was. And I loved the Brazil page because I thought, wow, like everyone on this page looks like me. And I loved the idea, I would almost fantasize about it, of walking down the street in a city somewhere in the world and looking like I was from there, because I knew that for my papa's side, my dad's family in Nigeria, that I would look European. I definitely did write at school and as a young teenager, but spoken word, I think where that really kicked off, I was about 17 and there was an open mic night, and I think it was in Handsworth, like where we grew up in our area, and I'd written this poem about feminism. I think I'd like just discovered, and I was like, oh my goodness. But what was amazing was that, not the poem, I'll say that, but to be 17 and to stand on a microphone and to speak for 3 minutes about something that I had just learned about, and I felt like I wanted to share it with people, and everyone listened to me. That was so incredible. I'm a poet and a performer, and I say artist as well, and I mean that in the most fluid sense. Spoken word was definitely the beginning of that for me, of realizing that I could be creative and that I could craft it into something and I could share it with other people. And then really I found that I loved collaborating with other people as well, that there's something magic that happens for me when you come together. And I found performance as well, but without acting. Maybe that was it, that didn't feel like I was a great actor, but I liked being on stage, and I thought there's got to be a way in still for someone like me. I think I thought about being mixed race more when I was a child. Maybe because I was growing up moving between my dad's house and my mum's house and seeing those two sides of my family as quite separate, I was more aware of being mixed race. And I suppose growing up and being a teenager as well, it is about finding your place in the world and understanding those around you and how you relate to them. And so actually doing this project, it sounds strange, but it almost reminded me that I was mixed race. I thought, oh yeah, this is a big part of who I am. And not that I'd forgotten, but I suppose we just go through waves in our life of feeling more connected or to different parts of our identity, or just feeling more passionate about it, or like you want to explore it a little bit more. I really remember the first workshop when everyone settled in and we were a little bit, not nervous, but there was a readiness to start and to see how the dynamics of the group would work and if people would be up for it, and they were. But I remember the energy in that room, and I thought, I don't think I've ever been in a room with like a dozen or so mixed race people at once. Like I didn't realize that it was something that I needed until it happened. And then also that everyone was so different as well. Of course we would be, with different stories and different perspectives and different reasons for wanting to come together, but there was really something shared. I remember feeling like I wanted every session that we spent together to be longer, because the conversations just kept bubbling and going round, and everyone wanted to share things at what they've written and relate to one another, and, or even if not to relate, but just to speak to someone who could really understand, even if it hadn't happened to them in that specific way. When we were thinking about how to put the show together, we'd had so many conversations, people had been writing so much during the sessions, and we had to decide how we would frame it, because as a group, as a creative team, and as everyone who had worked on this project, we've been talking about this trope, about the tragic mulatta, and how this trope had been part of history for so long and had morphed with culture, and how it affects us now, and with film and with literature. And we thought, how are we going to lay this out for the audience? Because one thing that was really important was that we didn't want people to think that we were trying to play this character or become this character. You know, we weren't acting. It was about people having a chance to share their story. In some ways, it felt a little bit like therapy, coming together to share and to be vulnerable. And I was surprised by it, even though it makes perfect sense, but we all really bonded, I think, because of this experience. And then, of course, to channel it creatively, you know, to play music, to dance together, to write together, to perform to each other and big each other up and joke and laugh and tell stories. All of that felt therapeutic, but yeah, in a different way, where you're kind of you're recharging and you're moving forward and you're creating something new together, new ways of thinking. I loved performing in the gallery. I think it's so brilliant that they open that space up for more than just the classic visual art. There was something really special, particularly we had this huge portrait behind us that was such a beautiful backdrop. I can't think of the era, so I'm not going to I'm not going to guess, but yeah, I think there was something really special. And also, you know, of these frozen images, particularly in that gallery, of these, yeah, beautiful women in sort of various scenarios, these muses or these models, I think almost all of them white. And then to have real, living, breathing people telling their stories, and the art is storytelling, but I think to have both of those simultaneously was really wonderful. And then, speaking to the audience afterwards was wonderful. People really wanted more. I remember a feeling just at the end when we had finished and we'd taken our final bow. There was almost a moment of, I could tell that people wanted more, that we'd just given them these snippets of ideas and of stories. But I felt proud of us, yeah.